everybody again. It's been great. You know, it's one thing to put this together, but it never works if you don't have people showing up. We had a great turnout here, as you see. One group we're a little short on is the Warlock family, Richard and Annie's family. They're having their own reunion in California, so they sent some letters. I think Mike has some letters that they sent we can read on their behalf. And we have some from the 125th anniversary of Christ Lutheran family history, a little short piece that'll give you a little background. But the people who can tell this family story the best is the family themselves, those that are here. And we're going to always keep Paul and Edna when they didn't have any children. We all have memories of them. So tonight's the time to share those memories too. A reminder, all photos on electronic media, give it to Todd over there at the computer, Todd Baker, and then Mike Big, tall guy right here in the salmon shirt or orange shirt, whatever it is. And they get that all together, and we're going to put it a place where
you see what you're looking at?
Show you a Dropbox or somewhere online where you, or if you know somebody's technically savvy, when they need, get all of these videos and photos of anybody's
grab right in the summer.
We can get them on. We have them all ready before you leave. We can watch them on the computer. So, and any pictures you have tonight, they've been scanning them already. So make sure you get the pictures picked up and get home, check it. If you want what you have to do with the picture, make sure your name's on it. So I know we have a great genealogy point from 1858, the American Losekes. Going forward, there's some little gaps in there. Mike has that going. You want to contact him, you can get that information. It's on the computer. He wants to capture that tonight or call him. I think I can see it in the emails I sent. His contact information. You can send that to him. Birthdays, marriages, deaths. And then addresses, postal addresses, email addresses, phone number. And I know those are your change all the time. This all started back on Daniel and Abby's, our son and daughter-in-law, Daniel and Abby right here. Their wedding was last July 3rd, and we're all sitting on the deck of our house afterwards. We said, we're going to have a Loseke reunion again. So that was July 3rd. We picked the date kind of roughly. And then we all got busy, and then Saka was getting all the local stuff arrangements. He got to know, he said, Brad, we got to let people know. They know everybody's sharing that there's a reunion, but nobody has the details. So that's when everything got hot and heavy, and we really put the pedal to the metal. But that was, I really thank you for getting that information in. I want to acknowledge people who helped out with this. You can't do this by yourself. I'm Brad, my wife Mary, John and Stephanie Killing. Right over there. They helped a lot with the program, ideas. Deb and Kevin Sawtell with the local arrangements. Henry here, which is great. The food with Wonderlicks, they did a great job. Everything local, that's Deb Sawtell. And collecting money, which is a very important thing. We haven't paid. And I know who you are. It's all people. I know you're good for it. So get it to her tonight. And then Mike Fink and Todd Baker, they're the geniuses behind the technology. So I want to give all these people a hand. I'm not done yet. And I was getting responses back by email, text, phone calls, and I was on a bus trying to write things down on a little scrap paper. And Abby and Daniel put this all together and got an application where you could send the stuff in and put the spreadsheet, made things so much easier. So, Dan and Abby, thank you for that. And Wayne and Ardith and Ryan and their family, what a great job. Super. Brian, history man. Brian's contemporary with the great-grandpa and so forth. And who's here? We want to talk about who is the oldest person here. Is there anybody over 80 years old here?
John Moji.
John Moji, how old are you?
I'm 80. I'll be 81 in October.
Give a hand for...
He beat my I'd like everybody to give a hand to Brad. He started this, and it was an enormous project that he took on, and he led it, and he did a super job.
Like I said, it wasn't me. We didn't talk a lot, and the rest of we had a lot of help. Thank you, John. Youngest person here. Who do we have? Anybody? I know we got some under Carrie. Gemma. And how old is Gemma?
5.5 months.
5.5 months. Okay, great. And she's here. How about that? From Wisconsin? I think our family has the youngest guard here. We had our grandson, Henry, was born last week? July 12th. The day we left, July 12th, whatever. Anyway, the youngest. So we have another Henry, Heinrich, or whatever. Henry, Mark.
Aren't we blessed? Aren't we blessed?
Who traveled the farthest? I think we traveled the farthest because I had a van motor that we were back and forth to Kennewick, Washington. Does that count? No. Okay, who came the farthest? Anybody come farther than 1,500 miles? 1,200? Hey, that's good enough. We had a bunch of family. Our family from Oregon came out. Only one from our family that didn't come out was Laura and Mark, that had the baby. And our son, John. Couldn't get out of work, a new job as a nurse. He'll make the next one. And then the most kids. Who's got the most kids here? Anybody have more than 7? 6? 5? Not 5 here. But 5, most children, whether they're here or not. Okay. Most grandchildren. Who's got more than 8 grandchildren? 8. We have, with Henry, that's 8. And we got another one on the way, January, that's Daniel and Abby. So that'll be good. I get them here.
Bradford, we have 8.
What?
We have 8.
Okay. We have a tie with Wayne. Yeah. Oh, 8. What's with this? You guys just sit there. Oh, okay. 8. Great, great, great. Okay, we got a winner over here. Who's it? Jolene. Okay. Jolene with 9. Great. Henry happens to be our 8th grandchild, so we're going to call him Henry the 8th. Longest married, largest family of the clan. Who's got the largest number of people here? I don't know the numbers. Probably, well, I know Albert of the first line, Albert Loseke's, I think, with everybody else away at this one. I'll take that $1,000 prize on it. Longest married. Okay, everybody stand up. We'll do the over team like we did the last one. Everybody stand. Everybody, that means everybody. Everybody stand. Even if you're not married, stand. If you're not married or have been married less than 5 years, sit down. Okay, now this Loseke has been noticed for long marriages. All the first line of those kids, the 9 surviving kids, all lived to celebrate the 50th wedding anniversary. That's huge. Okay, 5 to 10 years. Anybody 5 to 10 years? Anything less than 10 years? Okay, we got some old people here. 15 years or less, sit down.
I'm not going to make this.
Okay.
Sit down.
20, we're jumping now. 25 years or less. Sit down. Okay, now look at this. This is great. 30 years or less. Sit down.
I guess I got it.
You're out now. You've been
40 years or less. 50 years or less. Like I said, I'm sorry. 41 years for us. 60 years or less. Okay. 61 years.
No. 51.
Oh, 51. Sit up. Okay. 52 years. 53 years. 54 years. 55. 56. Do I hear 57? 50. Oh, look, we got that. 58. You got, oh, wait. 57. We got 257 here. Give me a hand.
Bob is still standing.
Old. 59.
58.
58. All right. Very good. And Johnny lost his wife Elaine in March, so not a, he's here. That's really good credit for that. From Denver. Denver? Yep. Oh, first of all, let's go show Greg, Lewis, and this is Lewis and Lena's thing. They're the paternal and the group that this all started. But before them, we have two couples, Lewis's dad and mom, and Lewis's grandpa and grandma. So, Tom, bring up Lewis's grandpa and grandma. I told my grandkids, all of us here have that DNA in us. So take a good look. Don't they look like a happy couple? Just a little about them. Now go back to John Henry. I'll just read a little short word from Christ in the book. J. Heinrich Loseke was born in Oldenburg, Germany in 1809, the son of Johann Heinrich and Catherine Margareta Engelbart Loseke. He married Anna Margareta Grotischen in 1835 at Grossenknechten, Germany. She was born in 1810 in Haas, Germany, to Johann and Anna Vicky Grotlich. In 1858, they came to America. He homesteaded in Bismarck Township near Loseke Creek. He was a charter member of Christ Lutheran. He donated the land where the church was built. Their children were Henry, Herman, Anna, who married Herman Arns, Gerhard, and then they were all born in Germany. John Henry died in 1891, and Anna died in 1879. They're both buried at Christ Cemetery. We saw their graves today. Okay, we'll go to Mrs. Lewis's dad, Heinrich Loseke, up there, was born in 1837 in Germany, the son of John Henry Loseke, saw previously, John Henry Sr., and Anna M. Robertson Loseke. He came to America in 1858 with his parents. He was married in 1864 to Elizabeth Erb Kump. She was born in Germany, the daughter of Johann and Catherine Schnurder. She had been, not Schnurd, that's another thing, not Mortimer. She had been married earlier to John Kump. Heinrich was the third person to sign the Constitution at Christ Lutheran, being a charter member of the church. Their children were Emma Henry Jr., Louis, my grandpa, Rosa, and August. Elizabeth died in 1909. Henry or Heinrich died in 1923, and they were buried in town Columbus Cemetery. He has many descendants in our congregation. Thanks, Todd. Okay, we've got some gravestones here. Yeah, John Henry. Heinrich. And that is, what? That's Heinrich in his later years. Grandpa's dad. Let's go to Lewis and Lewis. He died, he helped me, I was born in 52, and the story goes his heart went to immediate arrest and he died on the spot. So. That was not I made that up.
Lewis had half-sisters, and just a sideline, right down the street here, his half-sister married a booker who owned before the Glur's Tavern. Glur's Tavern has been the oldest tavern on this side of the Mississippi.
Continuously operating.
They first started at Doris Tavern.
And you know the story of Mr. Hooker when the Buffalo Bill Cody came in, he bought a round of drinks for everybody and put a gold piece on the bar, and Mr. Hooker paid it on the spot because he couldn't break it, he didn't have the money to pay the change back for it. And they say that's a true story. And Helena, we have that article on her. We got a lot of stuff on her. Some of you maybe read this. Memories of Louis and Helena. What do you remember about them? Daphne?
No, she was the midwife. And Jean, what did you, you said that your dad said that people would come in the middle of the night and people would come in the middle of the night and ask for Grandma to go, and Grandma would go and hitch up her little buggy and 2 horses or something like that.
I think
He would take Grandma, and then Grandma would be gone for a week or 2 because not only would she deliver the baby, but then she would stay around to help until the mom would recover.
Okay, move on. Memories of Grandpa and Grandma.
She was the best grandma anyone could have.
Second down.
Like this. Do it again. Say it. It's going to be like
I remember Diane telling me a story about Grandma Helena, about how she would play with the kids all the time. And you didn't know how she ever got everything done because she would always take time to play with you guys. And she called her husband the governor.
And that's when all of our meetings got and our glasses, our homemade beer got thrown away.
Can you repeat that with a microphone?
Oh yeah, so when the governor would come home, all of the games would be put away. And there were they playing glasses and beer?
No, it was real. It was real homemade beer with a little bit of sugar. For the kids? Oh yeah, they never ate together at the same table. Grandpa had the big run over table where he ate, and Grandma would serve him like lettuce and that in big bowls. And she sat at a little table on the other end of the kitchen, yeah. And she had like a little piece of steak. He had big steak. And then he had a water bucket on the side of the table and with a dipper. And he would drink, dipper back in the bucket. And then we would go over there, since we lived on the same place. We always knew when it was supper time because we could smell it or frying meat. And she only had a little piece of steak even by the time we ate.
When you get back up there, tell them to keep things moving.
I know Brian has a lot of stories. Viola told me that Grandpa always had lunch around and the rest of them had movies. Yeah.
Well, wait.
thing I remember about Grandma, she could make toys out of nothing. One time Tracy, she spent over there, we made a kite. She made a kite out of stick to the ground, covered with brown paper, the same flute. We put a tail on the thing with the same flute. I didn't tell that story. Grandpa we had a shed down the bottom of the place, and it had a scale. Grandpa had his first car out of it was a Model T, and he used pedals. to stop and start. When he drove me to the shed that had doors on both sides, he opened both doors. He couldn't always stop in time. So he drove right on.
And he would gun, I heard he would gun it to get up the driveway. We saw that driveway today as Eldon. I'll still call it Eldon's place. And then he would hope nobody was coming over the hill.
We had lots of stories of leaving the church grounds. All those old people lived in deadly fear of choking their car. So the first thing we did, they accelerated and then leave the clutch out a little bit. And Carol Lawrence was a good storyteller. He said some of that gravel hasn't come back down.
Grandma had a sun porch on the south of the house in our place, and she would cut up apples and then string them and dry them, and then we'd munch with those when they got all dry. That was a nice little treat. Cutting up milkweed stalks and mix some lye soap bubbles. We used those as our bubble blower. And she made whistles. That's right, out of the wood. Forgot about that.
Shadow finger.
Oh yeah, the shadow, finger shadows. Yeah.
Big kites are feed sets that would look like a stop sign.
Oh, that's right. And she also made Indian chewing gum. She'd take the branch of an elm tree, take off the bark, and take that inner layer she called it slippery elm. She said, chew it, Brad, chew it. And I never had chewing tobacco, but that was pretty good stuff, that slippery elm chewing gum.
Bradford, that picture, I think, is their 50th wedding anniversary.
Correct.
Grandpa would only let them take the picture if they promised not to put it in the paper. Now it's been across Facebook and it's been around the world.
Some of you may remember Grandpa was the elder in the church. He would stoke the fires because he lived so close. But there's a picture in the Christ Lutheran book, anniversary book, of all the elders signed up. I don't know, Ernest Dyer, I don't know all those older people. My grandpa was kind of I don't think I ever saw him smile. But the 125th anniversary, we had movies, all the confirmation classes. That same day that they took that picture, there was a movie of him, and he's laughing and slapping at his hat. They were all laughing before the picture, but as soon as that picture was ready, he knew how to clam up. So Diane shaved him every day, didn't you? And you wouldn't dare get the newspaper.
No, keep moving.
Yeah. So where's the Carl Adel folks? Read it.
How long do I have?
We got 5 minutes.
20 minutes.
And then we'll cover more after that.
Yeah, we'll cover more.
Okay, I tried to with my dad as who he was, and that was the next one. Of course, I don't know too many of the first 2 years of his life. He was very long. But I do know he has another person in Central City. He had a tire shop, but I don't know how long. And he probably left that to get on the farm. His formal education was to the 8th grade, but he never had the need to stop learning. That was always in his life. He took some correspondence courses. One was Ford Mechanic, and the other one was University of Nebraska as an electrical course. And a nephew of mine has that diploma and had that analyzed, and was told that that was equivalent to an electrical engineering degree. Wow. So, and later on, I remember coming home, he had a typewriter. He found, I think it was at the Bell. And there he was learning to type. He had the same book I had in high school. Of course, he was successful in learning to type. And Anita was telling me he would come over to her place and get a volume of an encyclopedia, read it, take it back, and get another one. And then the last, I remember him, a few months before he passed away, he was laying on the couch, his glasses were on top of his head. He had cataracts. I asked him what he was reading, and he said, "Oh, I'm looking up this book of bridges. I can't read the fine print anymore." So he's quite a patron of the Columbus Library.
How did your parents meet? Because your mom was from Tobias.
Right. Anita said they were met in Fairbury at a Walker meeting together. Yeah. Brian told me this story several years ago. I really cherish it. Probably in the 20s, Dad took a trip east. I don't know where. And he was coming home. He got to Fremont. He had no money left and no fuel for his car, so he sold the spare tire to get home. And I only knew my dad to drive Fords. Anybody knew he drove anything else, I'd like to know. That old 1930 Model A went quite a while, and one day he invited me to go with him on a little ride. He pointed to the odometer and said, "Watch the figures." They all turned to zeros. That was a big moment for him. And only 10 gallons of gas went in the car at a time. That was pretty smart thinking. You didn't have to figure too hard how many miles per gallon you went. It was easy to add up. The newspaper was a daily read. It took him a long time to get to the newspaper. If anybody else read it first, they had to put it back the same condition it was when it arrived. I asked him once if he read any funnies. He said Alley Oop was his favorite.
Yay!
When it came to time, daylight savings times was out of the picture. He did not change the clocks. We had to figure out what time this or that appointment was. The church was the one that changed the time. He didn't. Okay. And of course, he had a fascination with radios. He was the first in the neighborhood to have a radio, and the neighbors would come over and listen to whatever was programming that evening. Got into building garages out on the farm. I recall helping him. He didn't have that tool that went, it was a concrete block. He didn't have the tool that go in the mortar to get that little nice rounded edge. He used his finger. And you all know of Grandpa saying, just because there's water in the well, it's not to be wasted. And my dad was the same. Mom always said they never paid more than the minimum rate in Columbus. She wondered if the water department was wondering if they were clean or not. When you talk about water, back on the farm before the farmhouse had a bathroom, the family took baths in a wash tub in the kitchen. Well, this particular night, it was bath night. My dad was taking a bath. The rest of the family was in another part of the house. Roger and I went upstairs. Above the kitchen, there was a bedroom and a grate on the floor, a vent for the warm air to come through. And we couldn't have been too quiet. But I don't recall anybody saying anything about our peep show. And the next bath event, Roger and I went upstairs again. The radio was on to Grand Ole Opry, and our dad was taking a bath in the dark. I had never told that story even to my family.
Now you did.
There was a time when Grandma stayed at my parents' place, and she was trying to tell my dad something once, what to do. And Anita tells me this story, and my dad finally said, "I'm 65 years old now, I'll do what I want." And she also noticed his fondness for pie. and he was eating apple pie, and Grandma was not short on words. And she had said, I've got your tombstone inscription. Here I lie, slain by pie. After Roger's death, that was a remarkable time, and of course with any parent losing a child. And he took a little special notice than the rest of the family after that. We went to museums, and I think we hit every Pawn Ma Kettle movie there was. And he was one of the first ones to try out the new drive-in on 23rd Street. Nothing was new. In June of 1980, I was living in Colorado, and I called him on the phone knowing he was going to have surgery, colon surgery, in a few days. And he was in remarkable spirits, and he did all the talking. And he said, I might not make it. The nurse is going to give me a shot. I'll go to sleep and I won't wake up. And I reminded him the Lord was with him, and he was so grateful just to hear that little short message. In 2 days, he had the surgery. He came out of the anesthesia. He told my mom, the Lord is with me. That same day, he passed on, just like he predicted. And he's learning now more and more. That's about all I have. Stan maybe has something to say because he's the oldest, and he lived on the same farm in his younger years. Did I catch you?
Go ahead, Stan.
Well, I grew up on that place, and that's the only place I remember as a kid. Rita and I, when Mom passed away years ago, she and I did a little road trip. My oldest son's got it all recorded. Someday that's the highlight. There ain't much different. This place isn't hardly recognizable anymore. I guess I don't remember nothing else. Oh, I still have Grandpa's wagon he built back. I don't know when he built it, but it's still sitting in my shed. Using the storage. I use it for storage my dad's steel on it that has a place to blow it. But I still have Grandpa's wagon. It just doesn't get used much, but it's there. But I don't know what else.
It was really only one big piece of farming equipment he used for everything, other than the manure spreader.
Yeah.
And they had that.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's about it. I don't know much else.
Thanks, Rita.
Well, yeah, for y'all.
You say
Carlydale's family split up. And introduce yourself to the people that we are. Rita, all of you. All of Carl and Elizabeth's family. Say who you are.
I'm the youngest, Rita Loseke, and these are all orphans' children, and they brought their spouses. Stan is 11 years younger than I am. He retired before I did. And Sandy Bob, good Tennessee. Sharon lives close to the home place, and Joe is around the only way home. That's it.
Tell him Roger owns the park. Yeah, Roger lives here now.
Oh, Roger Loseke lives in the farm place. Kind of take a look at the state of Loseke.
Thanks, guys. My dad told me Adolf made a 7-foot kite. He was a prankster. He also wired up a battery to doorknobs. So whenever he touched the doorknob, it would shock. Adolf was one behind all that. There's a whole bunch of pranks. Oh yeah, here's a picture of Carl Adolf taking the Model T up the steps of Christ. Read the telegram. Columbus telegram. Okay, Stephanie.
The only reason I know this is Brad interviewed Paul and Dan and Mom, and we were looking at old videos, and one of the stories that Daddy told, or Paul told, was that Adolf tied a string to a rocking chair, and then, remember that story? And went out into the and when his sisters came in the room, he pulled the string so the rocking chair started rocking itself. And we looked at each other, and you know, you see what I see, and then the rocking chair was going, no, that couldn't have been. And then all of a sudden, the string again and started rocking. He went running up. He was a prankster.
Thanks. We'll go on to Andy, Anna Morlock, Richard Morlock. Do you have any family members here? Yeah, like I said, Morlock's had a family reunion in California.
Okay, Ron Morlock sent in a letter representing his family. He's describing his grandparents were divorced. I don't remember ever calling Grandma Morlock Annie. You remember that, in spite of having 10 children of her own, she always loved babies. She moved to New City right after the time she had to move to a nursing home. When we visited them in Columbus, she was caring for her mother, Dorothy, and Helena would call out from the back bedroom the same thing over and over in church. Grandpa Morlock passed away while I was in the Marine Corps doing basic training in California. I can remember him coming to our farm 4 miles south of Madison, helping chop wood. My father, Edmund, was born while Richard and Anna lived on the farm 2 miles south of him. I think that was mostly a coincidence. I don't remember my dad ever saying he intentionally moved back to the Madison area. One time we were visiting them in Columbus, and evidently he had a habit of allowing some of his shaving razors to fall on the floor. I tried to pick one up and got bad cut with lots of blood. I'm sure he felt bad as everyone about that. We've had many family gatherings for Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house. Either the gatherings were usually at her granddaughter Helena White's house. That was finished by Ron Warlock. And then, do you want me to go over all of his? Yes. I mean, all of them. Okay, the next one he wrote about was Walt Warlock. Some of these are pretty short, but he didn't include stuff. Walt Warlock was the oldest child. Cleveland's first wife, Lena Hartbrook, died fairly young in 1951. After they had 4 children, the first died at age 4. The second marriage, Margaret Cooper, ended in divorce. His last wife was Beverly Heister. Walt became a Lutheran minister late in life and passed away in St. Louis, Missouri in 1999. The next child they had was Edmund. And I think there's some photos of the family as well, but Edmund said my father, Edmund Morlock, the next child. The preteen living near Madison, he was sledding down a hill and had a collision with a car. He almost died from his injuries. During the hard times around 1940, he hiked out to Monte Vista, Colorado, and worked for the Monter family on their potato farm until he could afford to come back to the Columbus area. He met my mom, Norma Wilkie, at a picnic, and they were married 12/27/1945. I was born a year later and had 3 siblings, Andrea Beaversdorf in School Junction, Nebraska, Clay Morlock in Maplewood, Minnesota, and Marilyn Meister in Colorado. My father passed away on Christmas Day 2002 from lingering prostate cancer. My mother then moved to Carroll, Iowa, where we lived and passed away on February 17, 2012 from Parkinson's disease. This is Uncle Albert Morlock. And Al Morlock married Bernard Body, lived near Wayne, Nebraska at the time. They moved to Oregon where their 4 kids were born. His oldest son, a civil engineer, came back from Wayne, Nebraska, successfully run the Audi construction business until recently. Albert passed away 1981 in Toledo, Oregon. The next child was Elsie. Elsie moved to California and married a butcher, John Whittick, and had a boy, Mike, and a girl, Nancy. I was stationed at Camp Pendle, Marine Corps in 1970. I would stay at her house. Elsie passed away from cancer on July 22nd, 2007 in Westminster, California. Raymond Morlock. Raymond married Norma Short, and they had no children. Ray passed away February 20th, 2014, about 3.5 years after his wife was killed in a car accident. His wife was Norma Short. The next child was Robert, the twin of Raymond. Robert is still living with his son Richard in Rancho Santa Margarita, California. He also has a son, Bruce. Next family member was Alice Maxine Morlock, born in Madison, 7/31/1929, and passed away in a car accident near Albuquerque, New Mexico on August 30th, 1946. Helen was born in Madison and married Bob Hawley. They had no children. Helen passed away from complications of cerebrals and pneumonia on October 17, 2014. And I don't know if Helen, but I guess she was
I know you can. Have Chris and Lori help you.
Madison, Nebraska.
Okay.
She graduated from Bremer High School in Columbus and went to attend Omaha School of Business for a couple years after college. Helen worked for the high-low equipment secretary on August 2nd, 1954. Helen was united and married Earl Bob Hallway, Yankton, South Dakota. Helen was gardening and flowers in Louisiana. Next one is Ruth. This is child number 9. Ruth Morlock, she enlisted in the Navy and they misspelled her name and she never got it corrected. She currently lives in Pleasanton, California. Mariette.
Next one is Lewis Leonard, otherwise Uncle Leonard. He has first name Lewis Lewis. They go by Leonard Minnie.
Jim is the oldest.
It's easy to always remember his age. He was born in January 1900. So he went with the year as it changed. I would say, and I think Jim would agree, my dad was a very easy gentleman. I don't know that I ever saw my dad really get mad. Just easy going. And remarkably, I never heard him say, I don't think any of the brothers and sisters, the siblings, ever had problems. I think they all always respected each other because I never heard a bad word of any of the relatives at all. We lived on the farm. We went by today, but Mom and Dad first lived on Wayne's place where Paul and Helena, they lived there for like 8 years. That's the house. When we went by today, it doesn't seem like the place we grew up because so many buildings, the whole shelter of trees is gone. But anyway, Mom and Dad have 4 kids. My oldest sister, Arnella, married Robert Biggs. She had 2 children. Kim is a detective with CSI in Seattle, Washington. Very renowned detective. In fact, she was in People magazine in the May 2nd issue because she was head of this big case. They had pictures. Anyway, her son David is in Los Gatos or San Jose, California, in that area. And Nell was energy, like you can't believe. And she was really active. Just this last year in December, she took ill, found out she had terminal cancer. She went into hospice and only lasted 4 months. So she passed away on March 30th of this last year. And then next in the family was my brother Carol. And there's a picture of Nell and Carol when they were little. Anyway, my brother Carol farmed the home place. My folks moved to Columbus in 1957 when Carol got married. And my dad would have been 57 at that time. He worked for Havco in Platte Center. So he continued to work. After that, he worked as a groundskeeper at the Columbus Cemetery. And I think he loved that. Just loved mowing and taking care of that. Anyway, let's see, what else can I tell you? So I was talking to some of the relatives. They did not realize my dad had Parkinson's. And I didn't, I heard the comment that Ed Orlock had Parkinson's too, so it must run in the family a little bit. But he had Parkinson's quite bad. He shook quite badly with his hands, and at last he had trouble with balance, shuffling. But he didn't really die from the Parkinson's. He broke his hip and got, while he was done, he got Guillain-Barré, which you've all, when you get your flu shot, they'll ask if you've ever had Guillain-Barré, which is called French polio. It's just like polio. He was paralyzed from the neck on down. And he was in Omaha in the hospital. When he passed away, the doctors asked us if we would allow an autopsy because he had some kind of infection and they wanted to know where. And first we said no, we didn't want that. But then they explained it would help other lives because this was something was happening at that time that people were getting this Guillain-Barré. Connected to the flu shot, by the way. Anyway, the autopsy, when we got the report, my dad had colon cancer. He never said a word. They said it probably wasn't too bad, but in a year it would have been bad. So the reason I bring this up is that runs in the family very much. Get your colonoscopies. Because it's a early detection, they say. Anyway, but other than that, I can't think. He was, like I said, he was easygoing. Mom and Dad loved company, loved to visit neighbors, relatives. Mom's birthday was July 4th, and it was a big time for all of us. My dad was frugal, but before 4th of July, Jim can verify this, he mail ordered a big box of fireworks, huge box of fireworks. And all the neighbors, relatives would come, sit on his porch. I didn't get to light it, but Jim and Carol did. And we had a fireworks shoot. Any of you remember that? Anyway? Other than that, let's see. Then the next in the family of our kids was Carol, my brother Carol, and he farmed the home place. Carol was killed in a tractor accident in 1978, and he has 3 children. And then Jim is next, and I'm going to make him tell you about his family in a minute. He's got 3 children. And then Mom, until the day she died, introduced me as a baby. You know, but I was the youngest. We have 3 children. Our oldest daughter lives, our daughter is the oldest, and she lives in Indianapolis. That's her picture. And they have 2 children. And then our son Todd was a big family there. He lives in Lincoln. And then he's got 3 children and 3 grandchildren. So we got 3 grades. And then our youngest son, Craig, lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he's got 2 boys. Other than that, this is a picture of my sister Ella, which was taken, that was our 40th anniversary. We all huddled in the living room. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Dad, and I think this originated from Grandpa, he used to say, use it up, wear it out. You know, you didn't get new clothes. Use it up, wear it out. Patch it, whatever. And I don't know, we never thought we were that off, you know. So, other than that, one thing about Grandma Loseke I have to tell you, I remember with Mom one time visiting her maybe a weekday, and Grandma took us out to the garden. I think she sent something home with us. I had never seen a garden so clean. I don't think there was a blade of grass or a weed in there. Our gardens didn't look like that at all. Hers was perfect, just a picture garden. And I never knew how Grandma did that, but she really kept that garden clean. Jim, I'll let you tell about your kids.
Jim and Jude. We have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. The oldest daughter taught school in Omaha school 20-some years. They couldn't be here tonight, they are in New York. Youngest daughter is in Lake Loseke. They had to go to a wedding today. And our son lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's in Omaha, and his daughter was in the church. But I can remember my dad coming about one time, and he looked at William now, going down the driveway. I just got a new car. Going around one of the curves, going down the driveway, he upset it. It was a brand new car, he was just coming from town. He said it was a terror plane. Oh, this was before they were married, my folks. Grandpa Loseke sent my dad into town. Somebody had died. Was going to take it with. And Grandpa told him, bring 3 of them along right away while you're going in. And within a week, they were all used up. Yeah, 3 caskets.
It was diphtheria.
Jim, you have a couple of artifacts of Grandpa. Who else?
I just had one. His pocket watch.
Grandpa Loseke's pocket watch.
Yeah, and my dad's pocket watch. If anybody wants to see it, come in.
Yeah.
Take a look at it.
Thank you. Give a hand for Leonard.
I remember we were at Paul's and Enda's when they lived in town, and we were all downstairs, my dad, me, and Paul, and Leonard. We were playing a game of pool, and Leonard got snookered. He couldn't get around a ball. I just remember Leonard walking up the table, it's going to go, and the ball started rolling slightly. He said, oh, somebody must have bumped the table. Let me just put the balls back where they were. That's what I remember Leonard, that kind of sense of humor. All the brothers were like that.
Well, first of all, about Leonard. My dad always said, like you say, Leonard was easygoing. They'd be building a fence line, a long fence line. They'd go in for lunch, all the boys, and they'd get done with lunch, and they'd all go out and continue digging post holes, except Leonard. He would take a nap. So he'd take an hour nap, and by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever the day ended, Leonard had dug just as many post holes as anybody else.
Minnie and the Moji family. Minnie Moji and Pete Minnie. Johnny? Mr. 80-year-old guy here.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't have any good stories about Mom and Dad like the rest of my cousins have.
I remember the wine in the basement.
Oh, yeah. Mom made, well, Dad made some wine, and then Mom made some wine too. I would sneak down there once in a while after, I think it was after I was out of high school even, and get a little bit of it. Jim and I'd go out and have a drink. I remember that now, but there's probably many other things that other folks were involved with, but I don't recall them offhand. But my brother passed away in 2001.
Milton.
Yeah, of a heart attack. And his family, his oldest son lives here in Columbus somewhere. And second son lives in Lincoln. His ex-wife lives in Lincoln. Michael who's the oldest boy, has 3 children, or 2 boys and a girl. And Mark has 2 girls and a boy. And then my family is, we had 3 or 4 children, Helena and I. Jennifer's here, she's the oldest. Our oldest son is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He couldn't make it today.
And his name is?
Pardon?
What's his name?
Carl John.
Oh, Carl
He
John.
goes by Johnny, but Carl John is his name. And then Keith, his wife Sarah, Caitlin, Christopher, and Zachary, and Kurt, our youngest. out in Colorado since 1961.
Any, keep on going, have you got some more stories?
No,
You gotta have stories that beat many, I can.
you told the folks that Elaine passed away in March after I think about 8 years of Alzheimer's dementia. She's off in a much better place.
Your dad lived with, how many years did he never spoke English, did he? Your grandpa?
Yes, he spoke a little English, but not much. After we lived in Colorado several years, I don't remember how many, I lost the ability to speak the German. So we were home one time and I said, Grandpa, I can't twist my tongue right anymore. It doesn't come out right. And he says, don't. That's fine. I can understand it. And he could understand it, and he could talk a little bit, but not much.
I got Pete's Minnie's LTD Ford. We took it out to Oregon when we moved out there. And Minnie, I remember visiting Minnie. She made some great German, really tight rye bread, or really hard bread, really good salami on it. Grandma Loseke made great bloodwurst. You ever had blood sausage?
You bet.
That was really good.
You bet, Jim.
I grew up with a little bit of that. Now I know what it was. I don't touch it. But it was good. And my dad, Stuart farmed that Moody place for a while. The Wayne, of course, had cattle there too. But my dad, we did painted those buildings. Stuart, my dad, and I. My dad, how he painted was that. And I was like, oh, come on, we don't have all day.
Your dad used to come by my dad and other harvest. And I remember taking lunch out to him one time. And Mom had made some homemade donuts. And she had put them in his lunch, or his, I think it was a snack in the afternoon. He said, I'm going to stick a couple of these in my pocket. I like them too well.
Oh yeah, let's have all the folks stand up and hand. Thanks for coming. Jamie? Oh, Jamie?
I remember Minnie, because my parents, like he said, Stuart and Linda farmed on their farm ground. Daddy would let me go over to the house, and Minnie was like my grandma Loseke. She was my second grandma Loseke. I loved her to death, and I remember the very first time I saw a picture of great grandma Helena, I swore up and down it was Grandma Minnie, and I said, that's Grandma Minnie. No, that's your great grandma. I said, no, it's Grandma Minnie. It looks just like her. And like you said, her food was delicious. She always had good food in the house. And then when they moved to town, Minnie moved to town, I know my parents would have to do errands in town, and they would leave me with Minnie, and it was just like having my second grandparents in town. And I loved Minnie to death. She was, like I said, my second grandma. And he, on the other hand, he scared me sometimes. I think it was because he didn't speak English, or he spoke a lot of German. And it kind of scared me a little bit. He kind of scared me. I'd always ask Minnie, I go, is Pete coming home? Is Pete coming home? And she reassured me, oh, he's fine. He'll be okay. But later on, I really enjoyed the time with them. But I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you for sharing your mom and your grandma with me.
Thanks, Jamie. And then we move on to Paul and Edna. We got some pictures of Paul up here. Paul and Edna lived on Wayne's place, prior to Wayne moved.
Yeah.
Again, they had no children. Anybody want to speak memories of Paul and Ryan?
Just a show of hands of who was a godchild of Paul.
Okay, who was the godchild of Paul Loseke? Was it me?
Yeah, mine was.
Yeah, mine was?
Paul, right?
Yeah.
Wayne?
Fuck.
Yep. Anybody else had Paul as a sponsor?
Brian.
And Brian? Yeah.
One other thing to say. When Paul passed away, and I'm not sure it was Paul's wishes or my dad's, but my dad ended up with Paul's wedding ring. And about 15 years ago, yeah, it had to be before my folks were still alive, but my dad gave me Paul's wedding ring. And he says, I want this to go to our oldest son, Tim. And I said, do you mind if I wear it a while? He says, no, that's fine. So I'm still wearing it.
Oh, great story.
I know Gene's got a spray of Paul.
No.
For the last reunion. Remember? The manure spreader?
Huh?
The manure spreader story.
No, that's Gail.
Oh, it's Gail. Gail was riding with Paul on manure, on a tractor, on manure. Some of you rode the A-Ride ride this morning.
You and Gail, right? No, Gail.
Just Gail? Okay. Anyway, Paul was driving down in the field, and he was playing with the power takeoff. Says, there's something wrong here. Gail would go take a look in the back to see what's wrong. Gail got behind the manure spreader, and Paul just, no, manure. Did I tell you all Loseke had a great sense of humor?
Paul was an entertainer. We'd have a lunch out, under the tree after bailing or during bailing. He'd take his pocket knife and take his handkerchief and wrap it around his pocket knife and throw it.
Yeah.
And all the blades would come out, and it would look like a dog.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And they used to jackknife that target. Yeah.
He could tie a knot in a stem.
In his mouth.
In his mouth, a stem of a cherry or something
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
right. Yep.
Do you remember that, Gene?
Forgot about that.
He'd just take
No
the
fingers.
stem, put it in his mouth, and then he'd take it out later, and there was a knot in it.
Yep, Losekes are really good. Cheers.
Leonard was the best at rolling a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
That looked terrible.
When I would work for Stuart and Linda on their farm, and I remember sometimes when Paul would be out for church, this is later, early 80s. You wanted to go out, you'd have to take him out to you want to check his farm fields, how
South of
Stuart, how well Stuart's, I guess, the crops were going. And if anybody wants to, my mom had all his diaries, and I've got them with me. If anybody wants to take them or read them, and they're here with me tonight, so feel free to want to grab them and go through them. So
I did. I had them first, and I read them. Paul never worked. I don't think he really did, but he hauled manure. Then he'd go fishing. He'd milk cows, and then we'll play pool. They didn't have any kids. It was real obvious they didn't have kids because he was always he knew how to play and have work and play.
He liked to go bowling.
And bowling. Yeah, he was a good bowler.
Edna both bowled, I believe.
Who?
Him and Edna both.
Oh, and Edna too. You're right.
And they played, and Paul would go to Rex's and play pool.
That's right. Especially when they were in town. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Harold. We've got Jolene, Wayne. Here we go.
Harold and we talked about Walter League and that being a social event of the month, met through Walter League, as did many people. It was a good
Mom and Daddy, too.
group. She was Peterson, also a first cousin to Marcella, was an art, they were first cousins. You talked about talking German. I remember as the boys, I'm talking Harold's, my dad's brothers, they worked together, and they talked about Plattdeutsch, which was Low German, and that's the German they talked, but they didn't want us to hear what they were talking about. They talked in Low German then. So and the grandma and grandpa, I think, talked that all the time too. A lot of good memories of those things. I'll introduce my family, my wife, Arda, and we have 3 children, Lene and her husband, Ken, who live in Overland Park, Kansas. She works for the bank. Ken is a school teacher in the Blue Valley School District. Our second daughter, and their daughter is going to be playing for Stuart and Cordy next year, playing softball on a scholarship. She graduated from high school this year. Our second daughter also is, had things going on this year. She lives in Malcolm, Nebraska, married to a Balin, John Balin, who was also from this area. They have 2 children, and one of them will be one graduated from college, and the other will be entering Wesleyan this year. Ryan, of course, he lives next door to us. His wife, June, and they have 2 of the boys here. Liz was there this morning, and Eric was at a volleyball camp in Colorado. I also have a sister, Glenda, who is married to Tom Kleinhoff. They're now retired. He was an MD in Minnesota. They spend their winters in San Antonio and their summers up in Lakes, Minnesota. They also have 2 children, or 3 children. Yeah. Tulane, later this week.
Well, I don't know that I can embellish more, but I have some of my children here today. Lori from Omaha and her 2 children. And Shelley's here, yes, that's, and Craig, her husband, and her 2 boys. And let's see, who else? Okay, Leslie and Ken are in Hong Kong. And Chris and Andy are in Littleton, but we're at the place where the shooting was 2 days ago. Oh, I can remember the times, though, that I'd be at Grandpa and Grandma Loseke's. And Grandpa, always after he had lunch, would go and sit in his chair, whoops, and put a paper over his head. And one time, I remember Wayne picked it up and was looking, and he didn't do that. Yeah, so I guess I can't, no more.
Okay, any memories of Harold and Edna?
Brad, I got one.
Okay. Sure.
You kids probably know this, but I visited your mother when she was at Cottonwood, and she was telling me a story about the gypsies coming to your house. She told me that they were in church one Sunday morning. They came home, the gypsies had been at their house, took all her chickens. It must have been late in the summer because she said they took all her canned goods. Everything she canned all summer, the gypsies had apparently loaded their wagon and gone.
Jewelry out of the drawer.
Oh, I don't remember the jewelry. But I just thought, gosh, that isn't that long ago. I didn't know there were gypsies there. But she didn't sound real angry about it. Just matter of factly, this is what happened, and I guess this just happened.
Tulane, wasn't that on the Mission Festival Sunday?
Yes.
I remember too.
Harold Edna's family, stand up. Everybody. Let's give them a hand. Wait, what's my comment? What's the picture?
Go back to that soybean picture.
It's about 3 back.
There you go.
Were you on your knees there?
I was on my knees on
Okay, here's just this little break here. Who remembers what the Loseke families took to school for lunch and what they carried it in? My dad had said all the boys did this. Brian, maybe you know what Dad said. What kind of sandwich did they eat? Lard sandwiches, yep. And they carried it in a carob syrup.
Carrot syrup.
Carob syrup, yep. We'll go on to Albert, my dad.
I just wanted to tell you that Stephanie was my first grade student when I taught school at Christ Lutheran. That's where I met Wayne. And so Stephanie, I don't know.
Here I am.
Yes. She also gave organ lessons to our daughter.
Yeah.
So we have a lot in common.
And I'm a first grade teacher, and guess who inspired me? And I taught a lot longer than you did. I still am teaching, hopefully for another 5 years.
So, you know our family, we have Diane here, Diane Murphy, drinking cans, look at that. They just love each other. And I'll let Neil, my oldest, born on July 6th, I don't know what year.
36.
And she passed away about, how many years ago was that? Yeah, 36. And they had kids, Todd, right there, and Matt, and Allison. They're all three here. And Allison's right over there. And then I'll let you explain your family. And then Todd's wife, Trish, right over there. And Aaron, is he in here? There's Aaron. Son Aaron. And Matt. Okay, Matt and Chris and your daughter's name, Chris. Narayan. Okay, Narayan. I got it. Narayan. Okay, you heard it.
Ethan's in it here.
Yeah. By the way, Ethan is that son Ethan? Ethan? I think he's out there in the back. Okay.
He's out here.
The first in-law is and he's got something to say.
When you first came up to Nebraska?
You were 2 years old.
And I sat on Irvin's lap and I was very nervous. I remember that. And I thought I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but I didn't want to be there.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. And you came up also with another guy, and I like the other guy better.
That was Mert.
You didn't get to vote. I'm leaving.
He grew up. No, I spent a lot of summers down in Kansas and going to see Irvin's ball games.
Yep.
Yeah, those were great times.
Irvin, how many years did you play softball?
46.
46 years. And he had a fast pitch ball. I don't know how old I was. He put me against the side of the barn, tin barn, and I just regular fielder's glove, and he would pitch fast. And all I could do is save my face and put my hand there. And I remember after, my hand would be really smart.
And here.
And here, I told Diane, no more of this. Tell me I'm not catching anymore. It was fast.
Well, I don't think you really like it.
That was me.
I would say
What about your wedding day? Tell me about your wedding day. It was hot. Grandpa milked till half an hour before our wedding ceremony. I was watching baseball. TV, man, that was something new for me, TV.
And the wedding reception was in our
house.
backyard.
At the house. They kidnapped Diane.
Oh, that's right.
Her principal and our neighbor. One neighbor didn't get to go along on the kidnapping ride, and he was mad.
Yeah.
Stephanie cried.
And that
And I
night,
cried because I thought, what a terrible thing to happen on their wedding
Oh,
night.
yeah,
The bride got
Stephanie
kidnapped.
was crying because they took her.
I was poor.
He had you.
and that night, my dad put a bunch of pop in the oven downstairs. The old stove, wood stove oven. And all of them were so hot, the stove was on. For some reason, the heat or whatever, there was pop all over the floor. They blew up and pop all over. We kept it, some in the egg board. It's a big old egg brick kit. We kept a crate of these eggs. Tell about your family, Diana.
Well, our oldest daughter, you all know her, Deb Soffit. Right here. Right there. Diane, I called her down there, and Kevin called Deb back up here. Christ Lutheran Church that she came from.
And Deb was born in
60 in Germany, Frankfurt. Diane just wouldn't have eaten it, wouldn't have cost $7.75. Get her out of the hospital.
And Irvin served with, was it the same time as Elvis Presley?
We lived in the same town. He was in a different unit. He saw Diane when she go down to the commissary, she'd always see her. It's good to be here. He's showing his truck. Darn and
Dennis?
They live in Shawnee. They have 2 children. Megan, she's working today, and Tyler is in Terre Haute, Indiana, playing baseball. Graduated from Mill Valley, trying to letter of intent to Indiana State. All right, he'll be a freshman. His family, Joni. 3 kids, I don't think they're here anymore. There we go.
Daryl and Jody back over here.
Yeah, the kids are gone.
Oh.
He lives on the home place. Works at Valley Vet. What would you refer to that? We shouldn't go into this, but he had a little accident on July the 4th.
It's called a freak accident.
Yeah, freakish accident. Mike and Kristen, they live in Loseke. He had 2 girls, Lydia and Helena. They're both drug dealers.
He said they're both drug dealers.
Legal drug dealers.
You've got 3 drug dealers.
You've got 3 in the family. Each is at KU. Every time we get a question, we call them, what about this bill? What about that bill? And we're real proud of our family.
I got a story about
Okay, Grandpa, Sean's got a story about Grandpa.
We didn't come up with me, but I see you.
And of course he had milk the next morning, but by 6:30, 7 o'clock, he goes, I'm going to bed. And there he would go, and everybody had to the rest of the night. Popcorn and pipes. Way off in another room, so we couldn't hear the popcorn popper. Brad was watching your, what show was it you watched?
Dr. Sanguinary.
Then we would drive home, and Dad would go to Mom. Brad just never shuts up about the shows he watches on TV. He would tell every...
That's Dr. Sanguinary.
Yeah, and then we'd go, oh, God, that was... Deb and I would come up and spend a weekend this summer, and Deb would get homesick, and Grandma would go, well, your mom and dad's have the same moon.
Amy?
Well, first off, I was the grandchild that lived just down the road from Grandpa and Grandma, so I have a lot of stories. But some of my favorite stories were pulling out nails in 102-degree temperature. And my gosh, we had to save every nail that we pulled out of the north barn when we tore it down. For some reason, Grandpa thought we were going to reuse those nails. And some other memories is he would get upset. He never cussed, never heard a cuss word out there. But it was dumb bunny. Ooh, dumb bunny. And I say, I don't know what dumb bunny means. I don't. My dad passed away when I was a freshman in high school. And when I got married, I needed someone, obviously, walking down the aisle. And my grandpa, reluctantly, it took some encouraging, but he did. He walked me down the aisle, and that was a very special moment. Sometimes people think my grandpa was a little rough, and he could be, but that day he just soft at heart. And my grandma Loseke, God rest her soul, she is a saint, the best grandma you could ever have. I know my aunts and uncles talk about Grandma Lena, that she was the best, or great grandma Lena was the best grandma. I think my grandma Loseke learned from her, and she made the best oatmeal raisin cookies ever. Chocolate chips too. And ice cream cones were a treat at Grandpa and Grandma Loseke. She would always have ice cream cones on hand at home. Mom was like, put it in a bowl. That's all I would get was a bowl at home. But Grandma Loseke took the time to put it in an ice cream bowl. But they had to eat it outside, not eat it inside. We didn't want any messes in the house. So, but those are some great memories. And
Grandpa would always used to tease us downstairs. We'd go downstairs of their house up on the hill. And he always told us that there's a flue there for the chimney. And he's like, don't open it, there's a witch that lives in there. So I wouldn't touch it. I would not go near it. I know there's not a witch now, but I think that's why he told you so you wouldn't touch it. And then I know one other time they had a pool table downstairs in their basement. And we got a little carried away with the pool stick, and they had, I don't know what kind of tiles.
Drop ceiling.
Kind of a drop ceiling. The pool stick went up through the ceiling, and made a nice little hole. So I told Grandpa about it. He walked downstairs. I'll have to fix this so your grandma doesn't see it or she'll be upset. So how he fixed it is he just found a piece of masking tape and taped it. It was fixed, like Grandma would not see that. It made me laugh, and that's some of the stories I have.
Good story. Yeah. My dad did have sayings. I'd ask, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to shit in the shoe and give it to you. Remember that, man? It could have been the album too, but that's what my dad said. Not often, but. And the other one was, I see, said the blind man to me as he picked up his hammer and saw. Yeah, my dad liked to milk cows. He always said, work is play. If you didn't work, God help you. He'd get up at, he loved to milk. I remember summers, he'd have the window open, and then he'd listen to the irrigation motor. 3 in the morning, you'd go out and put water in the radiator. I mean, probably all you farmers did that. But that was clear out south. But in the middle of the morning, you'd go out there, and then 5 o'clock, 5:30, he's up milking, just like Alvin and those guys did. Just think of that, 2.5 hours, twice a day, 20, all year long. And then Stuart took over until he passed away. Let's see what other stories about. Anybody else have a story? Alvin first? Ryan? I just remember Alvin, Harold Schwartz, Paul, I think Harold, my dad. They did a lot of hauling manure together. They we shared combine with Brian, with Alvin. Baling. We did a lot of that, baling together. When we were done with our baling, we went on to the next farm, did theirs.
Your dad wouldn't wear socks, would he, in the summer?
I don't know about if he didn't wear socks. My dad wore long underwear in the summer all the time. And I said, what in the world are you doing? It's a built-in air conditioning. You sweat, and the air comes through. And they didn't have thermoses to put water in. What did they use?
Jug with a cloth.
Yeah, jug with a burlap bag around it, and then soak the burlap bag in the cattle tank, and that would cool. It kept the water cool.
That's scientific.
Scientific, yeah. And never drink.
Always wear a hat.
Always wear a hat. Never drink cold, like iced tea or cold water. Drink coffee. Drink hot stuff in the summer. Otherwise, you get heat stroke, and you'd have all these scientific.
I don't want to talk, but he'd always stick his teeth out.
Oh,
his
false teeth.
His false teeth, and you don't want to sit next to him because he'd salt your food.
Oh yeah, Grandpa, Jamie's got the salt shaker Grandpa used. It was a green salt shaker with a kind of a tin lid, had a few holes in it. Jamie claimed he used to always be dented. Jamie says you can clearly see he punched holes with a punch in there and make more salt.
Bigger.
And when you would shake the salt shaker, you go like this. There'd be salt all over the table.
Salt on your food.
And what did Grandpa have for breakfast?
Okay, who knows? Oatmeal. Oatmeal in the morning before you milk cows. On the counter, it'd get real crusty. They'd eat it with milk. He said, oh, this is great.
Cold. In the afternoon.
Cold in the afternoon. That was his favorite meal. It sticks to your ribs, he said. That'll get you through the day.
And he always wore overalls.
Always.
And he bought me my first pair of overalls. And it was either a birthday or Christmas present.
Your dad, he would eat oatmeal and it would fall in his overall. And he'd pick the spoon up, stick it down in the pocket, eat it out of the pocket.
Any other?
He bought me those overalls, either for birthday or Christmas. And I was so excited. Usually the presents I got from Grandma and Grandma Loseke were always toys. Always got toys. And Grandpa took the time. I think they had to go all the way to Omaha, so I found this out later. And I feel bad for this, but I opened up the present and I go, overalls. Really? And I think Grandpa, I think I broke his heart because he thought, oh, I'm buying my little granddaughter overalls.
Yeah.
And I think I feel really bad now because I found out he went to all this trouble to find a small pair of overalls for me. Here I am, like a jerk.
Daryl?
Which condiment did he always like?
What? Condiment?
He didn't like mustard.
Oh, he didn't like mustard, right?
The roast you can't.
Sundays we'd have roast beef, and you always had a big chunk of fat on there. I'd cut it off my plate. He said, "You eating that?" I looked at it. He goes, "Not. I'm not eating that." And he'd take a fork and just go like this. Candy. And he said, "There's never a Loseke that he knew of that had a heart attack, and they all lived into their 80s." But he said, "We laid off the lard and all the grease and everything else. They probably lived to 115. Yeah, he always believed in investing in education and into the farm. Anything that makes money or builds character.
Have them introduce their...
Linda, yeah, Stuart.
My mom, Linda. I'm Jamie, I'm the oldest. This is my husband, Bob. My son, Tony, Blossom, my first marriage. Roger, who was here earlier, he is gone. He has 2 girls, Landry and Raylyn. My next brother is Jared. He is married to my Tasha. Their 10th anniversary was Friday. They have 3 children, my godchild Quinn, Creed and Quade. They live on the home place where we all grew up. They're going through a beautiful remodel. If you want to see their house, it's just gorgeous. And then my youngest brother Jake, he lives in Sierra Vista, close to Sierra Vista. Hereford, right? And my mom and her husband Eugene, who's unable to be here tonight, Kyle, they live in Sierra Vista, Arizona as well.
You know who I am. My wife Mary, she's North Platte area, most recently from Plainview, Nebraska. Met in college, and we were married at 75 at St. John's in Seward. I went to, like Scott, we went to Cordy High School in Seward College. I got a master's degree there. I taught for 17 years and then worked with AL Thrivent for 24 years. And then now I work with Allstate Financial Services on a needs-to-be basis called in to do life insurance security sales. And then main job is driving a school bus for Beaver School District outside of Portland. Mary teaches 4th grade at Pilgrim. That's what got me out of Nebraska. We got a call there to start a school, and we had the school accredited, and that was recruited for a number of years. And I finally just bit the bullet. I thought maybe I'll learn something about finances, and I never went back to teaching. Mary's been teaching how many years?
34. I lost her.
2 more years left, and I might be driving the bus a little longer than that. And we have 5 kids. First of all, we got Lisa here, and Roger, husband Roger, and we'll let you talk about it.
We have daughters Serena, Hannah, and Mariah, and they're back at the hotel. And they've got 2 of their friends here that came out for the trip.
They came to take the pictures for all the rest of us.
They're the photographers.
Yeah, and then you're a nurse.
I'm
Where
a
do you
nurse, and I live out in Battleground, Washington.
And what does Roger do?
And Roger owns the Golden Coin Jewelry
Which is?
on Battleground. It's a buy and sell jewelry, gold, precious metals, like that, antiques.
And then you want to talk about Laura, since she's not here? Sister?
Okay, my the second oldest is Laura, and she's married to Mark Anders, and they have 3 kids. We've got Catherine, Elizabeth, and then the youngest is Henry, who was born less than a week ago. And she is a stay-at-home mom. He works at Intel.
She graduated.
She graduated from Concordia Seward.
As a missionary to Taiwan and taught in the Northwest there for a number of years. Mark is a does researches and designs the computer chips for Intel. And
Audrey and Ryan, they went home getting tired. Had 2 kids, Axel and Ezra.
Question.
Audra's a
Is
nurse.
there another one coming? No. And Anna's a nurse. Brian's in financial services.
She's a risk analyst, risk analyst in Portland. And Audra is a nurse at the Veterans Hospital in Portland as a clinical nurse leader. This is a orthopedic nurse at Peace Health in Vancouver, Washington.
Daniel. Abby. Roy. And we have a girl coming in January.
Yay! Another Loseke.
Another Loseke. We have a dog, Tex.
And what do you do?
An engineer at a dental company in a small town, Portland.
And Abby?
I'm a financial analyst.
For Intel.
Daniel went to Oregon State, Abby went to Portland State.
And John. John is a wound care nurse out in Newport, Oregon, and he just got that job recently, so he can come after for that. And he is a graduate from operator.
I'm Stephanie. I'm the second youngest of all the Loseke cousins. And I teach school in Oconomowoc, which has 5 O's in it, and I teach first grade. I've been there teaching there 21 years, taught in quite a few different places, helped start 2 Lutheran schools, one in Pekin, Illinois, and one out in Eugene, Oregon, which Neomai was instrumental in getting started. And that's Life Lutheran School out there. My husband, John, is retired LCMS pastor. And when he was a teacher first and a principal for 14 years, and that's how we met. Up at Concordia River Forest, we were both doing youth work. And then when we went to St. Louis in 1992, he did some field work under Walter Morlock. And Walt was a chaplain at one of the nursing homes then, so the connection goes on. And then we have 3 children, Chris and Lori, and I don't know if they're back yet. They had to go back to the hotel with Carrie. They're helping with her kids. Chris is a paramedic, but he is in nursing school. He's going to be an RN. And his wife, Lori, is a Lutheran school teacher. And then our second son, Chad, is a captain in the Marine Corps. He flies Ospreys. He just got back from deployment last week, his second deployment. He's a Naval Academy grad. Chad's wife is Katie, and Katie works for Manpower out of Milwaukee. She works remotely. And then our daughter, Carrie, is also a Lutheran school teacher, and she and Lori both work at the same school. They both teach middle school at Hills Corners Lutheran School in the Milwaukee area. And then Carrie is married to Dave Ressler, and they have the 2 little girls that you probably saw Vivi running around. Her name's Genevieve, we call her Vivi. She's 2 and didn't have a nap today. So, and then Gemma is 5 months old. So.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, let's stand. All of Albert looks to stand.
Okay.
Allison, Todd, and Diane's family. My family's here. Stephanie's family's here. And who? Yeah, all you, yeah. Stuart's family over here. And next one is Lorna and Earl. Nancy.
The first thing I want to get straightened out is, I remember my grandmother telling me that when they were first married, and they must have lived along the creek, that Indians came to her door and wanted food. Now, which place did Grandpa and Grandma live? Was it where Wayne lives now, or where Brian? Brian. Yeah.
The original Loseke homestead were crazy for that.
You
That's
think?
where 3 of the kids were born.
Okay, you think that's
I
right?
think that's where that happened.
Okay, that's that. My mother was noted always as a meticulous housekeeper, and also was known for her dark whole wheat bread and also her pies. And when she went to high school, she told her family that she wanted to become a nurse and be an RN. And well, Grandpa told her that he would not pay for her tuition or her room and board. So she took classes in high school that allowed her to teach in public school after graduation, which she did. And she taught 2 years at the Academy Schoolhouse, which was north of Monastery, and has now been converted to a home. Well, she had enough money then to get into nurses training, but that year the banks went broke. So she was out of luck. So she had to go and teach another year. And when she finished teaching, then she entered the School of Nursing in Sioux City, Iowa, got her registered nurse degree. She did some nursing when they were first married. Then she did a little bit up in Norfolk after they were married. And then stayed home and was a mother and housekeeper. And then when they retired, she did some nursing at St. Mary's Hospital here in Columbus, and then also at the Baylor Hospital here in Columbus. So that's about it for her. We have 2 sons, John and Daniel. John is married to Cynthia, and Cynthia's from Brazil. And they live in Mill Valley, just outside of San Francisco. He works for T-Mobile, a big cell phone company, and Google is their main account. So he spends a lot of time, at least 1 day a week at Google. Daniel lives in Washington, D.C. and teaches at George Washington University, and also University of Maryland. And this fall, he will also be teaching at Johns Hopkins. So he's a busy guy. He retired for 57 years and retired quickly. But,
You want to tell about Paul and Doris?
I can. Paul and Doris, shortly after they were married, they moved on to the home place where my parents farmed, and my parents retired to Columbus. And like I said, Mom went to work as an RN in the 2 hospitals, and Dad worked at Wilkie Landscaping. Paul and Doris stayed there until Mark and his wife were married several years. And then Mark and Amanda moved on to the home place, so that's where they live now. And Paul and Doris, of course, you all know, Lyle Marcellus. Somebody had to be using it that lived there and brought it in between.
Real quick story, Mom used to say that when they would have, Lorna would have people over for dinner, she never had a mess in the kitchen. It was always spotless. Like she would do her dishes as she was cooking. And so when everybody would sit down, you know, we always had a sink full of dishes and pots on the stove, and she said she didn't know how Lorna would do that. So that was a story she told.
Even lunch at birthday parties, she would have everything on plates and nothing on the cupboards. Never figured that out. She must have made everything meticulous. I said, yeah.
Yep. I remember when I must have been probably not even a teenager, but Nancy's dad hired me to drive the tractor on the line. I think I did that for 2 days. At the end of 2 days, her dad paid me $3.50. I thought I was rich.
Your dad was a hard worker.
My dad said nobody worked harder than Harold Schwartz. He was a tough.
Didn't your mom and dad elope?
That's right. They
Yeah.
did not alone.
They did. They went to Lenox, Iowa.
They ran away together.
So everybody thinks they involved, but most of their parents knew where they
were at?
That they were living there.
They went to Lenox, Iowa, didn't they?
No, they went to Watertown, South Dakota.
That's where they got married. I thought they lived in Lenox.
Harold always had the nicest people horses.
Yep.
They were very, very good. We all rode with over horses, lines down, and Harold's horses, you held the reins tight when they fought. Harold did all the scooping of oats when we threshed, so that tells you a little bit. He can work hard.
Wait, tell him about that jalopy he used to sweep hay. That jalopy.
Get the microphone over there.
You're going. The jalopy that Harold used to sweep hay.
Harold, well, Nancy farmed up in the Madison area, or north of Humphrey, with their brothers. They converted a shitty, was it a shitty?
It was a Buick.
A Buick car into a sweep. And that really enthralled us when we sweep a lot of hay with that. They always brought water along because it needed water by the end of the day or by noon. They had to have water to it. But it's quite a deal. They were, his brothers, Harold's brothers were very ingenious. They made a lot of things.
And they had family in Corvallis, Oregon, I think, or Silverton, Oregon.
That was my dad's youngest brother.
And I know my folks went out to visit them when they were out to see Neil Monroe.
And my dad's oldest brother got a buffalo and mixed that with his Angus cattle. He had buffalo Angus.
Wow.
Mixture.
Interesting. Ahead of the game. Way ahead of the time. And Harold was the last of the Loseke in-laws and families that farmed with horses, I believe. And I think it was like in the early 60s, possibly. They used to go farm with horses. Gene, was you said about him back then?
Well, another thing, Harold rode the railroad to Detroit and drove a car home.
Yes.
There's cars
Yeah, a lot of cars.
Wow.
Were these guys adventurous, you think back?
How about all the birthdays? Everybody would get together.
Oh yeah, big birthday parties. Back in the day, they'd all get together, play cards, have lunch.
And there was a birthday about every other week, right?
Always birthdays.
And the kids, cousins, we'd always run outside, at night, when they were, and the men would play sheep's head.
Yep.
And they would laugh and pound the table.
And they like to drink beer too while they're doing it.
And the ladies would all sit in the other room in a circle and tell news that they heard. And make lunch, and there were big lunches, and there was lunch, big breakfast, and there was dinner, it wasn't lunch, and then there was lunch for the men in the field, and then there was supper, and then there was lunch if somebody came over at night, and nobody was heavy in that family because they all worked hard.
Had anyone ever heard of a Loseke sibling squawking in any manner? I never did. They got along because, well, probably Grandma and Grandpa said so. There was a lot of influence there, I'm sure, because a year after Grandpa died, my dad got off the farm. He didn't like farm. He wasn't really a farmer. He did it, I'm sure, because that was what Grandpa thought he had to do, or either that he was also had sinus problems and he was quite sick. And some of you mentioned your dad's being grumpy. So was mine. I mean, really grumpy when he was sick. And and quiet. We all had to be quiet, which was Mom's job, and she didn't like to do that either.
Okay.
I remember colon cancer runs in the Loseke family, and my mother had colon cancer too. But she went through the treatments and, so.
I get sick of that. Do your colonoscopy.
Right.
I wouldn't be around here if I had.
What did Leonard die from? Does anybody know?
Yeah,
Leonard?
He died from pneumonia. It was diagnosed. He died of Guillain-Barré. He had that Guillain-Barré. He had that Guillain-Barré, but that apparently didn't kill him because while you're immobile, you get pneumonia.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's have Lorna's family stand up. All two of you. You notice you know why they all got along? Because they lived close together and you could never leave.
My dad remembers, he would go down, he told me this, you look at life insurance, I remember when Dad died, I saw his life insurance policy that he took out from AA all back in started in 1902, he was born in 1909, I think he was one of the first ones that Christ had a life insurance policy and criticized for it. You should trust God. And also, crop insurance was a big deal. And now who all has policies and stuff. And let's see, who else? What's the common theme? Loseke, farming and? Church and nursing, a lot of nurses.
And teachers.
And teachers, yeah. And my mom was an LPN later on in life and went to school at Biola. They were in the charter class of college. And they were nursing, which is a segue over to the baby of the family, which is, well, not quite the baby. There's Milton, who's the very youngest, who passed away with rheumatic fever, I think is what someone told me. Brian, you want to talk about Alvin Biola?
Well, I think I said most of the stuff during the day this morning about my parents and some of the things, so I think I want to defer to my brothers. But just one thing, my parents were very religious. The meal started with the prayer for the meal. The meal ended, nobody left the table until there was a prayer of thanksgiving. Right. And that was just the way it was. The other thing concerning prayer, us kids would go to bed at night, and I could hear my parents, when they came to bed, Dad would say Luther's evening prayer, and then Mom would end with the Lord's Prayer every night. And we heard it when we were awake. So, with that, Karen and I have 3 children. Tim and Lisa couldn't be here. They're riding in the Iowa bike ride starting early tomorrow morning. But they have 3 sons. Ben, who is working at the university, and he's going to be finishing up his PhD in vinology. Vinology is the study of the vine. His father, Tim, has a vineyard, and just as a hobby thing. But they have 3. His brother, just got married a year ago, and he was not one to study. He didn't really care for that. But he happened to get a job at the bank, and within a year, he is now a branch manager of a fairly decent-sized branch of Union Branch in Lincoln. And the youngest one, he was going to be a career soldier, join the Guard, but he got out of that, and he started his own irrigation business. So I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, Loseke Irrigation. He's really doing very well. Okay, our daughter Heidi lives in Olathe, Kansas, and she is a director of care ministry at their church. And, the same church Mike goes to. And Lene also. Her husband Kevin is an executive with State Farm and does quite a bit of traveling. And they have 2 sons and a daughter. Then our youngest, she was here earlier this evening. She is a nurse, an RN at Lincoln General or Brian West in Lincoln. And her husband works for Encore. Oh, Ecolab, yeah. I didn't get a nap either today. But he was doing some work up in Norfolk this morning, so they just passed through here and we asked him to stop in, so that's what they're here for. And they have 2 twins, or twin granddaughters, the daughters here. And I should say also that Tim's oldest son, Ben, is married, and he had a son on his 75th, on my 75th birthday. So my birthday present for my 75th was a great-grandson.
Gail's up here. Gail has a daughter, Brenna, a daughter, Bethany, and a son, Brock.
Rob got married last summer to Jillian.
Yeah. Jillian's going to be a dentist in Lincoln. She's at the university. Brock is manager at Costco in Target. Bethany works for a bank or something out in, or did work for a bank in Scotts Bluff. She's got 2 kids, Tyler and Riley. And Brenna lives in Bakerville, California, and she works for she was in the Air Force for 8 years, and then she got a job as a contractor, contracting out things for what Air Force base is that? And she works there as a civil contractor. I guess that's it. Gail's retired from MPPD. He's been retired. He farms. He bought a farm and he golfs and hunts deer and drinks scotch.
Sounds like somebody else I know.
Gail is golfing 5 days a week now and enjoying life quite a bit. I think he lives about 3 miles north of Mitchell.
I'm Gene. I'm number 3. My boy was with us this morning. He's the clubhouse manager for Firethorn Golf Course in Lincoln, and he had to go back because they got a brand new swimming pool and things aren't working right. And I have a daughter in Bennett, Nebraska that works in Lincoln. She's a nurse practitioner. My son-in-law is parts manager for Butler Ag and Beatrice. Well, Pickerel, like north of Beatrice. And I have a granddaughter that's 8 years old named Ellie. She goes to Bennett grade school. I guess that's about it. Well, not like I told you.
Your mom was good at fishing.
Yeah, my mom loved to fish. She'd take me fishing. One time we got caught down there in a storm, and we hid in a slough. And then my dad come. We started walking home in the rain, and my dad drove the pickup about halfway down there, and then it got off. Well, he wouldn't go off the brome, or he would have got stuck. But he carried my mom about 300 feet to the pickup, and then we drove home. That was when I was about 5 or 6.
But she knew, like Loseke Creek or out at the dam, she knew exactly where to throw her line.
Oh, yeah.
And she could catch fish. I think that was the Wilkies, so they were always good hunters.
They had no weather warnings then, and like we were talking, they just get us up in the middle of the night. We go down in the basement, and it was lightning and thunder and rain and blow, and everything would be a mess outside. No weather warnings at all. And nowadays, they warn you 2 weeks in advance, and then it don't show up.
I'm Kendall. I am the youngest of the cousins. This is my wife Carol. We have one daughter, Katie, who is turning 30. All 3 of us. Katie lives in Lincoln, rents a house with friends, and works for a pizza company. She's kind of made a career out of pizza and does some inventory work for a friend who has an eBay company. And I have a short story for Stephanie. I don't know if she remembers this or not, but Stuart had a pool table in the basement of the house. And Stephanie and I were down there playing pool. And I don't know how I did it, but somehow I broke the tip off the cue stick. And Stephanie said, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll tell Stuart that he did it when he was drinking beer."
I don't remember that.
It's probably 1962 or 63, and I've never heard about it again.
Kendall and I were very close growing up, and Kendall came over a lot. Yeah. Kendall came. But Grandma was 83 when Kendall was born. So can you imagine being 83 and still having new baby grandchild? Amazing.
Our parents, Ellen and Viola, did enjoy fishing. Dad liked to go to the farm pond west of Alberts. Mom preferred the creek.
Yeah.
And so there was always, do we go to the creek, do we go to the pond? There was some issue about where the bullheads tasted better.
Yeah.
So,
And Carp.
we didn't eat
We
much
did,
carp.
we had
Melvin Arnie had his place flooded out once. Dad and I went spearfishing there. And we speared 3 or 4 carp. Dad had them cured somewhere in town. And the packaging was in the deep freeze in our basement. So we were always going down to the deep freeze and picking at the carp.
Okay. When you got whatever is left over, I think that's what we got. That's our same part. Yeah.
Oh, Brian, here, do you have any stories?
Todd, can you play that about Bob Colway?
Bob Colway is Helen Warlock's husband.
That's the oldest cousin of the Losekes. Looking pretty good.
Time's running out, so you know that. I don't give a shit over the
Bob Colway comes over to the VFW on Sunday afternoons, and he'll sit with me, and he always buys me a drink. And then he has friends that come in here. I tried to get him to come, and he can't hear very good, and the noise would have. He knew that, so I just let it go.
How old
He's
is Bob?
93.
93.
I talked to him, I think it was like 7 minutes before I knew who he knew who I was, finally figured out. And that was all for not 7 minutes waiting.
Yeah, I think Helen was 83. They were 10 years apart.
That's right. And Helen, I think, got a lot of grandma's antique furniture. I know I've got grandma's, her side buffet still in our house. Yeah. Grandma's.
Jim Loseke has Grandpa's pocket watch, because when I was looking at the video, did you talk about that?
Yeah.
I missed that.
And let's have Eldon family ride and give them some applause for them. Back to just about Brian, I shared a story where I thought of one that said, you need to tell this one. Walt Morlock, besides being a teacher and a pastor, he was also an airplane pilot. He was the one that took me and Dean Bargerbrook, I think we were in 8th grade at Christ Lutheran, he said, you want to go for an airplane ride? I don't think I'd let my kids do that. It was his first passenger flight, and we were going to go up to Minnesota. Brian was working for IBM, I believe, and we were going to fly out, and I said, sure, I've never flown a plane, commercial or private. This is a high-wing, single-engine aircraft. We took off from Columbus. We landed in space. He showed me how to use the VOR and the track on a map, me and Dean. And then we landed at Spencer, Iowa. We did touch and go. He said, let me show you how to touch and go boards. He just popped the wheels and took off. Then we went to St. Cloud, Minnesota. And I don't remember even seeing you that whole trip.
You guys picked me up in Minneapolis.
And you flew back with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
When we landed at St. Cloud, Minnesota, landing is landed in quotes. We were coming down pretty fast. And we came in a little, we hit the runway a little late, a little farther in the runway. I saw that runway moving really fast. I saw the end of the runway coming up, and I thought, maybe this is normal. I don't know what to expect. I looked at Walt. His eyes were like dishes, you know. And he ran off the runway, and we went in a circle. But he said, don't tell your parents this. I'm so sorry. I've never had that happen to me before. And I'm thinking, I'm going to make a trip back. That was a prayer that day. Lord, help us get home safely. That was Walt Morlock, pilot, the first time he passed the flight. But that was a fun trip. And we have a clip of Grandma Loseke and Helena.
Say something to Helena. Here comes Grandma.
Marcel.
Now you gotta say something to Helena.
That's Diane. That's Albert.
I'd rather hear her song.
That's
what she loves. I don't know what to say. I'd rather hear your voice. I'd rather hear some talking of you. We've had pretty cool weather here lately. Maybe you too. Today it's nice and warm, I know. Yeah, I had my heater going on yesterday. And this morning a little while too, and then I found out it was getting warmer. So I turned it off. Now it seems to be getting warmer. Tomorrow. Now Simona is here from California with her 2 children.
California?
They're going to be over to my place tomorrow. So you better be there too. Which is good. We all think you will be here in a month or so, won't you? Well, I don't know what else to say. I don't feel much like talking anyway. Goodbye. Happy birthday.
Hey, you better be here.
All right, sing something.
Be at church at 9:30 tomorrow. Church starts at 10. You want to be seated anytime early. Wear your name tags. And we're going to take pictures on the church steps afterwards, a large group, and then family groups. And we bought some flowers today for the group to have on the altar.
You guys going to church tomorrow? No.
Thanksgiving to God. Afterwards, we're going to have anybody who wants to take some of the flowers and put them on one of your family's grave sites. We'll do that.
Where? The church?
And we're going to have a final brunch at Valentino's. It's going to be Italian buffet at Valentino's at 12:30. You got to reserve those who want it. It's just one of those things we just say for people that all together. And then as far as after tomorrow, church work, like you do last night. Feel free to do whatever you want. Church would be nice to everybody that you want.
So we'll skip that one.
Next reunion. The next Loseke reunion, this type of thing. 2021. 5 years from now, it's going to be Christ Lutheran's 150th celebration of the congregation. So, just go move into that, and they'll have the program, and we'll just tap into that. So, mark it on your calendar, summer 2021.
Steph, go ahead.
Okay. We're going to do just 2 songs for all the saints, and I know that might be different. And we did for all the saints at the 88 meeting. I'll start, Jim. You join me. For all the saints who from their labors rest, all who by faith for the world confess, your name, Lord Jesus, be forever blessed.
from earth's wide bounds, from ocean's farthest coast, through gates of pearl streams, in the countless host. Sing to Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
I know that
My Redeemer lives. What comfort this sweet sentence gives. He lives, who once was dead. He lives forever, living dead. He lives to silence all my fears. He lives to wipe away my tears. He lives to calm my troubled heart. He lives all blessings to impart. He lives and grants me daily bread. He lives and I shall conquer death. He is my mansion to prepare. He lives to take me safely there. He lives on glory to his name. He lives my Savior, still the same. What joy this blessed assurance gives. I know that my Redeemer lives.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunities we've had these past few days to get together as your children to celebrate the goodness that you've given us through our parents and grandparents. We certainly, as we saw slides tonight of those who are past, we know that those saints are now in your beloved arms. We wait for the day when we will all be together in that great family reunion that you have planned for us around the heavenly banquet table. We ask your blessings as we worship in your presence tomorrow. We spend some quality time together, and then we go our ways in your grace and in your peace. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious to us. The Lord turn his face toward us and give us his peace. Amen.